In our video on analysis, beginnings, middles and ends, we're really trying to sort of draw students away from the common problem that they face, that their analytical chains of impacts always revolve around revenue and profits. And in our beginnings, middle and ends tutorial, we were showing that if you're just talking about revenue and profits all the time in your analytical chains, you're missing out the beginnings and you're missing out the ends of your analytical chains of impact. What we're going to try and do in this video is actually just remind you of all those different consequences that surround business decisions that don't even relate to revenue, don't even relate to profits. There's a whole world of analytical impacts out there to do with the different functions of the business. There's a whole lot more to do with finance than revenue and profit, but then there's all of the HR, the marketings, the operations impacts as well. Way too many for me to even get on the board behind me. So I think what the easiest thing to do would be is to head over to the computer and we'll have a look at this world of analytical consequences that you can get into your exam answers. If we start with marketing, we'll see that there really are plenty of consequences out there relating to the marketing function that we might just find irrelevant to our chains of impact. So the most basic one is that decision managers make might affect demand, leads on to us talking about whether it might affect sales volume, sales value, ultimately market share. We could talk about whether a managerial decision might affect brand loyalty, customer retention. We could talk about whether it might impact and give us a competitive advantage over rivals. We can talk about whether managerial decisions might just play an impact on our marketing budgets, maybe even meaning that we need to increase our marketing budgets. Great one to talk about is whether a managerial decision might impact on the elasticity of our products, maybe making them more price inelastic or less price inelastic. We could talk about whether strategies that managers are pursuing might affect the stage of our product life cycle, maybe accelerate a business's product through the life cycle, sending it into the decline phase quicker. Maybe we could talk about the Boston Matrix, whether managerial decisions might just mean that we need to consider new product development. We could talk about whether managerial decisions might just have the impact of influencing the effectiveness of our pricing strategies. For those A-level answers, we can talk about Porter's 5 forces. Are the decisions of managers perhaps increasing the power of our buyers, increasing the power of our suppliers? Are managerial decisions contributing to the achievement of our marketing objectives? And finally, whether the effectiveness of our overall marketing strategies are being helped or hindered by these decisions that managers are making. If we move on to human resources, again, it's a real fertile ground when it comes to analytical consequences. So when we look at managers' decisions, are they going to have an impact on our labour productivity? Are they going to have an impact on our employee cost as a percentage of turnover, on our labour cost per unit? Are they going to secure greater employee engagement? Are they going to improve or hinder trade union relations? Really big fertile area for impacts is how will it affect employees' motivation and morale? How will it affect our retention rates, our labour turnover? Might decisions contribute to organisational redesign? Might we need to think about delayering, changing the levels of hierarchy, adjusting people's spans of control? Might they affect our recruitment processes? Might they affect our branding as an employer and whether we're a desirable organisation to work for? Might they make us more centralised or more decentralised? Might the decisions managers are making have the impact of creating the need for training and all of the consequences of that? Might managers' decisions mean that we need to think about the way we pay our employees and maybe think about bonuses, profit sharing? If we move on to operations, again, we've got these whole list of analytical consequences that we might weave into our answers. So when we look at the decisions of managers, are they having an impact on our unit cost? Might they improve or damage the quality of what we sell? Might they influence our speed of response and lead times for customers? Could decisions create greater added value? Could they affect our capacity or improve or damage our capacity utilization? Could managerial decisions impact on the efficiency, the productivity? Lovely one to talk about is economies of scale. Maybe even certain decisions might perhaps tip the business into diseconomies of scale. Are managerial decisions going to have an impact on wastage? Are managerial decisions going to mean that we're going to need to invest in new technology? Are these decisions going to create greater flexibility for the operations? Are they going to allow us to be a more dependable firm for our customers to do business with? Could they even, if we think about CSR, could these managerial decisions impact on the environment, and might we have a greater or lesser environmental impact as a result of these managerial strategies? Finally, we'll show you that there's a whole list of financial consequences to managerial decisions that we can use in chains of impacts that really don't even refer to revenue and profit. So we could talk about whether managerial decisions affect cash flow and liquidity, whether if they involve borrowing, whether they might impact on the gearing ratio of the organisation. Might they impact on our budgets and create greater or lesser budget variances? Might they impact on our relationship with our suppliers and customers in terms of receivable days and payable days? Might they impact on our costs, total costs, fixed costs, variable costs? Linked to that, might managerial decisions impact on our contribution per unit, our total contribution, ultimately our break-even level of output? Might they affect not the profits of the business, but the profitability? Might they require additional finance? So might a managerial decision mean that we have to take on greater loans or look for investors? Might they impact on our shareholders? So we could talk about dividend returns. We could talk about rises and falls in company share prices. So we've got a whole host of analytical impacts there to do with each of the four functions of the business, and we've not even mentioned revenue and profit. Now, we know one of the important things to do in the exam is to turn all of these impacts that we can think of into meaningful chains of analysis, so we can sort of see how one point builds into the next. An easy way to do that is to just show you a worked example here where we'll take some of our impacts and we'll just build on them and develop a chain. So if we look at a classic exam question, to what extent is training likely to be the best way to improve the performance of a retailer's workforce? Now, before we jump into our chains of analysis, we've got to make a strong but simple point first of all. So our point could be training might improve performance because employees will be more skilled if they receive training. It's not a complex point, it's very, very simple. The complexity will come through our chain of analysis. So we're saying that training might mean a more skilled workforce. So then we get going on the chain. So more skilled workforce should mean that their labour productivity improves. This greater productivity may allow retail employees to achieve higher bonuses. These greater bonuses, as well as the original staff training we've given them, might improve staff motivation. A more motivated workforce might be more efficient. A more motivated, efficient team of retail employees may contribute to a greater sales volume, which might reduce employees' costs as a percentage of turnover. And we'd finish it off by just bringing it back, linking it into the question and saying, so this shows how when effective training that employees engage with is delivered, it can improve aspects of workforce performance, such as productivity, efficiency, and employee cost per unit. So hopefully that's shown you how we can just bring in a whole host of different impacts into our chains of analysis there without always having to turn to the staples of revenue and profit.